Hello everybody, welcome back to episode number 43 here in the Systematic Factory. It's been about 100 cycles, and I've just been doing prep work for today's episode. First thing is I moved my pips down here below the base. They're just to get them out of the way. I still need the pips because they're going to be vital in today's work, but I needed them out of the way. They were over here. So this has all been cleared out. The storage that was up here for our bulk storage, I just dropped everything down here and put it in a tile, and this is all set at a sweet priority of 1, and it's all getting moved up to here where I put that storage inside of our base. So I also have some sweepers mechanics to bring stuff in that goes this way to this auto sweeper, and this system is set up so that this picks up anything that drops from our meteor shield above our rockets. So basically, things drop down here. This sweeper can reach all of these tiles, and it puts it into this dispenser, which pushes it 1 block over, which makes it so that this one can reach it. And it does the same, and it just keeps daisy chaining it along. I could have done the same thing with just sweepers and a bunch of conveyor loaders, but I thought this was a little more fun, and it saved a little bit of power because these are not hooked up to power. They still work without the power. And I have cooling to make everything work. But anything that drops down here gets moved over to this section, and then this sweeper slowly picks it all up and sends it into the base. And then all of those items are stored away in here, and they can't off-gas because of the, I think I have super coolant in there. Yeah, that way I don't have to worry about freezing if I put anything cold in there. And it's nice and convenient for everybody to reach. All good. This area is almost enclosed. Just finishing that off now. And the first thing we need to do before we get started here is get set up to get all the gas out of here, because we want this to be a vacuum before we start. So I'm going to just go through and set up some pumps, and then we're just going to do gas pipes that push them out, and we'll do some high pressure gas vents. I guess that means we're going to need a little bit of scaffolding under here so that they can build the things. We'll do that a while as well. That'll work. And then we're just going to copy this, and we're going to do these. We'll leave 2 in between. That way they're not overlapping each other while they pump. This one, we'll just put it close. This side will start right here. Oops, that was not where I wanted that one. Sometimes when you're moving around with the blueprint thing, it disappears because you were moving too much. And it happened. Oh, that one wasn't where I wanted it either, but that's fine. Doesn't have to be perfect. These are all temporary, just to get some things going. The other thing we need to do is grab our power wire, and we're just going to run it across to all of them. And then that's going to just quickly pump all the gases from here, pushing it outside, which is fine. We still need more hydrogen to fill in the bottom of the map as we go. We're working on getting rid of all the uranium ore down here with lots and lots of bees. We have 11 tons of enriched uranium to power our reactor for the time being. Should keep us plenty until we get it set up to be renewable. right, we got everything pumping. Everything is getting moved out. You can already see the gas shifting down and thinning out. It's going to be a quick work of this. Probably still take a bunch of cycles, but we have all the hydrogen getting moved out, and this area is getting ready for us to start our construction. We're fast forwarding again. I've been doing some work in here. We did get all the hydrogen out of our space here, and I did some work to figure out exactly the best way to do this for me. But so the goal here is that we are going to be growing waterweed for lettuce, and then we're also going to be doing 3 other crops, and those crops are mushrooms. So I think we want to look at dust cap actually. So we're going to be growing dust caps, which we require to do in a carbon dioxide atmosphere in a temperature range of 5 to 35. And then I'm also going to be doing bristle blossom, which needs to be in oxygen, polluted oxygen, or carbon dioxide. Any would be fine. We'll probably do it in carbon dioxide because that's the same atmosphere as this one, where the temperature is going to be regulated, so we can have the atmosphere for both of those combined and keep it at the same temperature. This one's 5 to 30, the other one was 5 to 35. So if we keep it at like 20 degrees, we'll be set. And then the last thing we're going to be going is sleet wheat. Sleet wheat is a little bit more of a problem because it has to be at minus 55 to 5 degrees. And that can also be in oxygen, carbon dioxide, or polluted oxygen. So this one needs to be in 22 to 65 degrees, and it has to be in water, which is a little more complicated, but we got it going here. So basically what I've been doing is I've been creating dirt tiles, and then I have a... Oops, I need to put one of these in there. I have a pit that is coming along and planting the waterweed seeds. So I have sections that are like 12 tiles wide that are separated by doors so that he can pathfind to them very easily. And then as soon as this one goes, we remove this. And we have to work right to left because of the pit planting rules. If we started over here and went the other way, he can see farther away to stop him from planting here. So when he considers a tile, let's pause this and look at it. When he considers a tile here, let's say, he counts in directions that are, he counts 6 or 5 tiles depending on the direction. So to the left he counts 6 tiles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So if there's ones here, it counts. And from to the right he only counts 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles. So and he counts upwards 5 tiles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then downward 6 tiles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we start at the top and in the right, and we work our way through, because if we have anything on the left side of it, it will count as too many. You can only have 2 plants in that area, or for the pit to plant. If there's more than that, he won't plant. So we have to start at the right. We have to leave a 3-block gap in between every 3-block section, and we have to have a 4-block gap between this row and the one below it. Because if we don't, then when we go to plant this row, it'll count the ones above it, and there'll be too many when we count the ones to the right as well. That might not make too much sense, but there's a really good guide on Reddit. I'll try to put it in the description as a link, but it's the first thing you come up when you look for pit planting rules, and it's really, really insightful. It also has the method for creating dirt tiles using the glass forge for heat, basically turning algae into dirt. I'm doing a slightly different version of that, but it's on there as well. So basically, when we remove this ladder, this spot is now available for pit planting. So it gets deconstructed, and now this pit will be able to see this tile as a possible place for planting. Eventually he will find a seed, take it over there, and once that one's done, we'll remove the last ladder, and then we'll move him to the last section and do the whole thing again. Down here, you can see I'm working on the next row of dirt. This one got done because it's the end of the row. But I'm going to show you the method that we're using here. It's the one that is described on that Reddit post that I showed you. You use exactly 2,084 grams through a liquid valve, and then it hits the algae and it turns into dirt. I haven't had as much success with that. I don't know if it's because I'm using the wrong materials or pipes, but sometimes I get dirt, sometimes I get sand. And sand is a problem. This row, sand would be okay, because we're going to have a row of insulated tiles underneath it to separate the temperature from the water weed farm from the next farm. But if I had sand up here, then when I removed the tile underneath it, it would have just fallen. So that's a problem. So what I have found to work is, instead of putting the algae on the floor, I just leave it in the storage bin. I put just 5 kilograms in there so we can make a tile that's very small, which is the goal. And then when I send out molten glass, so I'm actually going to just send out 10 of these so that they can queue up and start making them. The glass comes out, it goes through this liquid valve, so since I have it set to 1,000 grams per second, it's just a small amount, very little amount of heat. And each time we make glass in the glass forge, it makes 25 kilograms. So that means we get 25 little blobs that come out. We just let it go, and it keeps hitting a spot until we get dirt, and then we cut off the pipe. It's not as super efficient as far as the use of glass. We end up using a lot of it. But I have, when it comes to sand, I have almost 500 tons of sand. I'm not concerned about using up too much sand in this process. The glass also gets embedded inside the dirt, which doesn't bother me. It's just a small amount. A little bit of glass and the igneous rock from the storage bin that I deconstruct gets embedded inside the dirt tile. Not a problem for me at all. All right, so Beth is making our glass here. So I'm just going to show you a couple of them here, and then we'll continue working on making all of this dirt off camera, because it is pretty tedious. It's just the same thing over and over and over again. But I just want to show you how it works and what we're doing. So glass comes out of here. We get two 10 kilograms and a 5 kilogram blob. They hit here, and we send out little 1 kilogram packets at a time. They come down this way. And let's actually go in here. We can watch the temperature in this algae. It's already heating up a little bit because of the heat in the room going up. But as soon as we drop that blob on, it goes really high. And 2 blobs gets it to turn into dirt. So I pause it, then we continue on, and we watch for the next one to happen. Sometimes it takes a few blobs, sometimes for some reason it takes a lot more, and I'm not quite sure why, but I just watch to see when one switches, then I cut off the flow so that the glass moves on farther down the road. Hoping to get this one done as well before we stop here. But if we look in here, this is only at 90 degrees. We need it to go to 130 degrees before it converts to dirt. And so I'm not quite sure exactly what I could do to make it more efficient. I've tested a couple of different things. But like I said, I'm not concerned about losing the glass. So if it takes a while, it takes a little extra resources. I think what's happening here is the heat that's going down is getting shunted over into the dirt piles next to it. So I think to be super efficient, what I would need to do is pause it, or only do one run at a time, get the dirt there, remove the storage bins that are behind the dirt so we have less heat transfer so that the heat can get into the where we need it to go. So let's stop this now just so that we can see. So what we do next is we just do deconstructing of buildings, and we remove these. And then we also remove the pipes that were behind those, and we just let it go. And then once it's done, we can just keep going and do the next one over and over and over until we get it done. In the end, I need 2 rows of waterweed. I'm going to need 4 rows of mushrooms. I'm going to need another 2 rows for bristle blossom, and I'm going to need 1.5 rows for sleetweed. And I think based on the size I have in here, I'm actually going to have to extend out a little section down here for the other part of the sleet wheat, because I'm
was a little limited in the size here because I wanted to have enough space underneath the rockets to do our capture for radiation that I'm going to try to make work. And so this is as high up as I could go comfortably. This teleporter output I couldn't move, so this is as far right as I could go. And I didn't want to move this tamer, so this is as far low as I could go. But it works out pretty good because the sleet wheat only needs 1.5 rows. It's actually like 1.25 rows. So I'll make a little bump out here once I get to the sleet wheat, and we'll fit everything in. But the tedious part of this is the process of making the dirt, and then also the process of getting all the plants planted. But you can see this one got planted while we were doing that. I can deconstruct the next ladder, and this section will be done. Once everything is finished, we're going to take the output of these and run them into a refrigerator in a kitchen. The lettuce is going to be combined with the dust caps, the mushrooms from the dust caps, to make mushroom wraps, which is going to be our primary food source for our colony. And then the bristle blossoms and the sleet wheat are going to be combined to make berry sludge. And the reason we want berry sludge is that while we have been using rehydrated food in our rockets, and it's been fine, and it's fun to do that, berry sludge is so much easier. Once you have it, it never spoils. And so you can just throw a bunch of it in a rocket, and then you have plenty of food to last you for as long as you need. So that's why we're making the 2 different food types. So I'm going to continue on with the tedious work of getting all of these dirt tiles made and planted, and then we will work on the next steps. We're on the final section of making our dirt. Finally got the section for the sleet wheat all built out, and then all the other dirt is done. They're all getting cooled. They're being planted now. And I'm just finishing up doing the dirt for this section. One thing that is nice about this one, oh, I just realized I have this pipe here that I don't want to have. I'm gonna deconstruct that real quick. I don't want to risk having to mess up our spots when we have dirt there. So let's do a line across that to get it done. One thing that is nice is that if these turn into sand, it's not the end of the world. I'm gonna try to not have them be sand because I just would like to have all of it be dirt if possible. But this section is already built. This is how it's gonna stay. So there is no worry about it being sand or dirt. We can plant in either one, which would be fine. So that pipe we're gonna have to redo and come down this way and go up this way to connect it. We'll need some scaffolding to build it. It is nice having an army full of duplicants to do my bidding. So I did like 10. I got that many done with just 10 through it. So it's just a matter of getting them all done. Next thing I'm doing is I'm working on doing several different sections where I'm doing the plants at first. Now, you do have to do it from the top right corner and go left, but once you have these 3 in, you can do the 3 below it and go down because it'll work out that way. So I'm basically I started with the top one, I'm working my way over that way. In the next section, I'm to here, so I can remove this one, and then in this one, I'll remove that, and this one we're waiting for him to plant here. And so all you have to do is be careful that when you're doing sections, if this one plants faster than the one above it, you gotta make sure this section is finished before you move into the one below it. And then you're good. And this way I can get the whole field planted faster. The dust caps are gonna be a bit of a longer process because I don't have enough fungal spores, so I'm going to have to let some of these grow to get fungal spores so that I can get more to plant. The other downside to that's why this one's not being planted, there's none in here. The other downside to that is that I can't start planting bristle blossoms and sleet wheat until those are all finished, because like I just said, if you're gonna, I can move here and plant this if this one's done, and then I can move down here, I can move down here, but I can't move over until these are done. So that's why I'm kind of working my way at an angle. instead of doing one row at a time, because I want to start getting stuff planted down here, and we have to wait until we have the fungal spores planted above, if that makes sense. I do have some more, so I'm still going ahead and planting across, but at this point, I think I'm gonna finish this row here, and then I'm gonna just try to make sure I'm getting it at least at an angle so that I can get as much planted down here as possible. The sleet wheat is gonna be a challenge because I still have the sleet wheat in storage over on the other colony because it's in the deep freeze. I need to get this room cold enough that that can sit in here and just move in just enough that I am not planting too far ahead or they will spoil and I'll lose them. So going to be a challenge with that as well. So just a few more things to finish up. We can get everything planted and then we'll work on our kitchen. We have finished building all the rooms, all the dirt's in place, and that was a tedious process, but we got it all done. I also now have all the coolant loops in here so that everything is getting cooled to the right temperature. We're doing a little bit more work here because this temperature is just a little too low because I decided to combine the coolant loop for the top 3 rooms because the lowest or the highest temperature, the highest low temperature is 22 and the lowest high temperature down here is, it's actually the bristle blossoms, is 30. So as long as we're between 22 and 30 degrees, it'll work for all 3 of them. And so we're dialing in so that we're hitting just that point. We're increasing the heat in this line just a little bit to do it. At the moment, our holdup is that we need more fungal spores to finish planting. So we're manually bringing seeds in when they get harvested. And I set it up so that for temporary purposes, all these seeds for that are set to enable harvest because our duplicants, when they harvest, have a higher chance of getting seeds. So our pip is dutifully planting our spores, and as soon as he gets one in, I remove the next ladder and he can move down. The important part when you're doing this, I had thought that you just needed the seeds above before you could do the seeds below, but it's a little more complicated. This one needs this spot to be empty. This one needs this spot to be empty. So it's like diagonal just a little bit. So what I'm doing just to make it easier and safe is when I finish these 3, I will open up this section to plant. So that's why this one's open. What we're doing is I'm going to finish this section, then we're going to work on this section, and we'll work down diagonally. We finally reached the point where we could put in just 1 row of sleet wheat, which is good. Now we know this is all working. This room is actually a deep freeze, so any sleet wheat that sits on the ground is fine. It's just gonna stay frozen. Unlike the seeds for the rest of them, sleet wheat is its own seed, which means that if they go off and we lose them to becoming stale and rotten, then we're out of seeds. And so until we get them all planted, we have to be super careful with them. So that's why they're all just going to sit in here in this room. We'll keep moving them around until we get everything planted and we'll be fine. What we're working on next is right now everything comes off of here, so we can see the mushrooms are coming up and they're getting moved to this spot right here, which means that we have a whole bunch of mushrooms and lettuce that are just going off. And that's not good. We don't want that. I have some sleet wheat there too, but that's because all these are full, so I have enough in here. I'm not worried about losing them. I have more than enough stored in this room so that we can get the whole thing planted. What we need to do is move this conveyor rail over here to get to where our kitchen's going to be and set up a deep freezer. Before I could install the kitchen and do the deep freezer, I needed to do some changes over here, and I want to show those to you as well. So let's start with the salt water. So we have salt water that comes in from our cool salt slush geyser down here. It comes out at -10. That all gets fed into a buffer tank, and then it gets sent up this way to go up here and into our base. Originally, that just fed right here into our desalinator, and because it was sitting in buffer tanks for a while, it was fine because it had time to warm up. But -10 degree salt in, -10 degree water out. -10 degree water turns to ice and cracks the pipes. So that pipe now goes this way, It goes through this whole system where it comes in at -8 and it ends up coming out in a positive number, which is all we need. So it's just a tiny bit of increase in temperature, but that also means it keeps all of this nice and cold. So the oxygen and hydrogen being pulled out is cold. I don't really care about the hydrogen because it's just getting burned off. But the oxygen going into our base is now nice and cold. I've also done some rerouting for our oxygen pipes, and this looks like a big spaghetti mess, and it kind of is, but it's all very thought out. The oxygen from our electrolyzer takes priority at all times. So it goes here, and it goes into this line. When this line gets filled, it then goes up to the next one and jumps over to fill up the second line of our Atmos suits. Any oxygen that can't fit, meaning that all of our Atmos suit pipes are completely full, we don't need oxygen in any Atmos suit dock, then that oxygen gets sent over here, and it's the first priority on the pipes that go to our base. This line coming from Dampina comes up and it hits the second priorities here. So if oxygen is coming from this line to these, it will take priority, but this one will feed in the line and keep it full. That way we have, actually these should be connected like this. Oh no, that was correct in the first one. We want these to go first. We want this one to only go if there is space here, because these aren't flowing. And then after these lines are filled up, then this fills in any gaps over here. But basically, all the lines are completely saturated. It takes priority from this line when it can. It uses this to fill in the gaps. We have plenty of oxygen. We have 2 kilograms of oxygen running because we have 1 coming from down here. We have another 1 coming in from the line down here. And we only need 1.4 for our population on this planet. Whether they're in an Atmos suit or they're in the base, they're breathing. And so as long as we have a flow line that's greater than 1.4, we'll have enough to keep them set. I also did some tweaking down here to our filter. It's not quite perfect yet. I'm still dialing in this system. I might move this up a little bit higher just so that we don't end up deleting any oxygen. But for now, it's doing good. All the oxygen is nice and saturated. Those pipes are now nice and clean and out of the way because I need to bring a line from this system, which already has a little bit of coolant that's deep frozen. I need to run it down through here into where our kitchen's going to be. I also need to bring some more supercoolant over from the main colony because I'm out. My line down here is actually completely empty, so this coolant system isn't even running because I ran out dumping supercoolant into these 2 lines. So we need to set that up. We need to set up the deep freeze in here to store all the items, and then we need to build a kitchen around it. Okay, we have gotten everything set up here to get started setting up the deep freeze. So we have coolant line nice and cold running down here to where we're going to have it. I put down a auto sweeper and laid out some things for our layout. Basically, we're going to have a natural gas line going here for a what's it called? The gas range. We'll have the electric grill here, and we'll have a few dehydrators down at the bottom. Very similar to how I have set up before. First thing we need to do, though, is get the deep freeze working. So I'm going to show you a trick that I use here to do that. So we need to have a sterile atmosphere in the section here that's also really cold. And so this is the simplest way. You really going to do that? Are you going to get hungry right while I'm trying to do a demonstration? Thanks, buddy. So what you want to do is get chlorine into this spot. And so I have chlorine down here. And so I could pump chlorine up and make a real mess and have to have like a vacuum that I create. But I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to put in a tile here to close that off. Okay, now that the tile is in place, we will dig that out, which we can do through a corner. And now we have a space in here that is a vacuum. Now vacuum isn't what we want because we want to make sure that there's gas in there to transfer the heat to the items we put in. So I set this up. We have allow manual use. We have some bleach stone. So we're going to say, go grab me some bleach stone. Set this to high priority so they do it while we're here. And we can turn it off as soon as that goes in. We just need a tiny bit of it. We don't need them to bring us all the bleach stone in the world. And now that that bleach stone is in there, it's emitting chlorine gas. So we have chlorine gas building up inside this room. Needed more chlorine in there. That was the problem. That small amount of chlorine gas, it wasn't able to transfer temperature very efficiently, so it wasn't getting cold enough. So I just dumped a whole bunch of bleach stone in there. I also set this up so that it will pull anything other than food and currently bleach stone out of the deep freeze, and you can see all the bristleberry, the lettuce, all that stuff. It's all deep frozen now. So everything will get shipped from our farms over. It'll get dropped off into here. Anything that's not food ingredients will get shipped into here and shipped out. So all we have left to do, this can be moved because I'm not using that anymore. This just takes the stuff and it runs it from here back up into our main storage, which is excellent. So all we have left to do in here is do a little bit more work getting our kitchen set up, and then we'll be set. I did check my time, and I'm running behind here on as far as amount of time in the episode, but I'm going to go over a little bit today because I want to finish the kitchen and have our food production going, because I'm really excited to get started with rockets, and this is the last step before that. So this episode we're going to have our food production and cooking all finished, and then next episode we can focus entirely on building our rad rockets and having some fun with that. So first thing we need to do for this is we need to put in an electric grill. We also are going to need a gas range, and then we're going to need our dehydrators. I'm gonna put in all three. I don't know if we're actually going to use that much over here on this one, but we're going to need to put in a pump for the water eventually. For now, I'm just going to put a space for it. We'll put that, and then the water will get pumped back up into our storage. This does not produce a ton of water, so it's not that big of a deal for now. But we do get some water back when we use the gas ranges. So we need some power for all this stuff. I don't know if we may need to run another power line. For now, I'm just going to connect it and see where we're at, and then we'll go from there. Just going to get all this power wire connected up, and then we may need to run another line at some point. But for now, let's just connect it up and see where we're at. The other thing we need to work on while they finish building this is that we need to go back to our main colony, and let's go to our shipping department, which is here. So we need to have natural gas shipping across. Ooh, that's going to be a problem because I'm shipping oxygen across. I'm going to have to debate what to do with that. I could figure out a way to send in natural gas with some automation so that we have storage, and then when we need more, we can send it across. I think that's what I'm going to do because I like having it over here. All right, so let's go and find where our natural gas line is. So natural gas is on this line here. We have it being fed up from storage, and oh, actually no, this is coming down currently from this storage. Then that's fine. We can just run a line directly across from here. Okay, I have everything set up to bring natural gas on board, so we're filling up our tankers here, and we are running them through, and we're getting some things set up here to start actually cooking food. I did go through and set up some cooks on Hazard Auto because we only had the one, and I want some extra ones. I did also come up with a solution for what I'm going to do. Eventually, this colony is not going to have 14 people, so this would handle it just fine. The issue is I can't expand this too much because this only produces 1.2 kilograms per second. This is currently using 1 kilogram per second. So if I doubled the size of this to match the gas output that I need, I would run out of water pretty quickly. However, I can still import natural gas from the main colony and water at the same time. So I have more than enough water on the main colony. I get more than 15 kilograms per second from all the different sources over there. So I could send a full pipe over here, expand our SPOM to make it bigger, and not run out of water. So that's what we're going to do for the long run. For now, I'm just going to finish this up so that we can get the kitchen running, and we'll do some more tweaking of it later. So first things first, I am connecting power to this conveyor loader. This one is going to be to put the food back into deep freeze after the electric grill is done cooking it. The nice thing here is that this sweeper can reach everything inside the kitchen. So the fried mushroom falls on the floor, it gets put in here, it gets put out, and it's fine. Currently they're grabbing some of the food that's sitting over there that dropped on the floor before we moved it in here, but eventually this will pull out the ingredients from the deep freeze, put it in here, it'll cook it, and then it will put it back into there. That's now working. So this can reach to this conveyor loader, and it can reach anything that comes out of the electric grill, but it can't reach into deep freeze. So I have fried mushrooms set there. Anytime that mushrooms come in here, this sweeper will put it into the grill. Somebody will come along and cook it. This will grab it from the floor. It will put it into the conveyor loader, which will then ship it off and put it back into the deep freeze. And so now we have some fried mushrooms stored. We also have some lettuce stored. So if we go in here and we select our mushroom wrap, they need fried mushroom and lettuce. We set this to forever. It's going to grab them right out of the deep freeze. And that means that now the gas range has all the stuff it needs to make some stuff, and it has a work errand. So let's just set this higher just so we can see it get done right now. One of our cooks should be along pretty quickly to do it. All it takes is having the priority set up correctly. He was disallowed from making food, so he wasn't coming over to make our mushroom wraps. But he is now making mushroom wraps. Now we could set up a similar system on this side with a conveyor loader to put the mushroom wraps back into storage. But that's not necessary because we're not going to actually be eating the mushroom wraps. We're going to be setting up dehydration for the mushroom wraps. So let's set all of these to go do that. So basically, as soon as the mushroom wraps fall on the floor, they will be getting done. I also need to be bringing plastic over. It's not going to need to be a lot, but I need some. Because we use a little bit of plastic every time we make a mushroom wrap. Oh wait, why do I have... That was just me being dumb. I put down gas ranges. Now that we have the correct machines here, this is working fine. And the reason I do 3 dehydrators is that they take a long time. And so the food can get put into those and they can run for a long time. Somebody will come along and empty them. We're going to have to get the plastic here. I think I am actually going to set up a system over here. So we'll put it here. What is this? This one's connected to put it back into the deep freeze. This is what I'm using for... Oh, that's what I used to put in the bleach stone, but it's already there. It's perfect for what I need. So we'll get a sweeper put in. We're going to set this to... we'll turn this off. And we're going to set this to the grilled mushroom wraps. Or grilled... Yeah, it's mushroom wrap. Always get them backwards. So now, anything... This will be able to reach here, but not down here. It won't reach deep freeze. So when the mushroom wraps come out of here, it will put them into this. It'll get put into deep freeze. And then this can grab from here and put it into rehydrators. That way, or dehydrator. That way there's not mushroom wraps sitting on the floor getting spoiled. They're always... all the food we want to be in the deep freezer or in a machine so that we're not losing anything to spoilage. That's the plan. So... This now will work really well for the mushroom wraps. Mushrooms and lettuce get put in here. As soon as there's space in here, they get picked up and put into into the electric grill. We'll have some lettuce down here that's unrefrigerated. Let's quick just put it in. Just temporarily, I'm going to turn this on so that this will grab it. And then I'll... Oh. And then we'll turn it off here, because I don't want it to be grabbing lettuce out of here. Did it just put it into the grill? Yeah, either way, that's fine. So this now is all set up correctly. They're cooking everything. Mushroom wraps get stored into here, so they go into here, and when they're spacing a dehydrator, they get pulled out and they get put up. The last thing we need to do is our berry sludge, which is... Oh, berry sludge is... Is it a microbe musher recipe? Let's look it up. Yeah, it's a microbe musher recipe. Maybe I will make that a spot right here. Food, microbe musher. It's gonna mess with my aesthetics. Alright, now we have berry sludge set up. For berry sludge, we just need to put in sleet wheat grain and bristleberry. So that gets pulled out of our storage, put into here. Somebody will come along and cook it. And for now, we're just gonna let this berry sludge pile up on the floor because it's not gonna go bad. It'll just pile up and then we'll have it and we can just keep on cooking the things. The last thing to do is this bleach stone is now not emitting because it's over pressure. So we want to get rid of it. So all we do is turn this back on to move it out of there. And now that everything in here is food. We have lettuce and bristleberries. Everything else is being cooked at the moment. We have it set up so that all the new food from the farms will be shipped over here. And all we have left to do for this project is the very tedious task of deleting ladders so that we can plant crops. And fortunately for you, I can do that alone. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.